God bless it, is just light, 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 more light. It's amazing.
Well, whatever you have done to want to be recording these somehow or posting it, or whatever you triggered in me, it is just, I can't stop it now. It's like it's just bubbling over, and I can't. I'm just like going, okay, let's just keep going. This is fabulous. That was amazing what you just gave. That was beautiful.
Well, the amazing...
Now, I don't know, Rich, I guess I think this is great.
Well, I think we just, it's an example of that flow, because generally I know what I'm saying, but most people that I know that are, let's use the term illumined to varying degrees. The ones that are totally there don't know it. It's almost like we said the other day. There's just this download that's sort of called forth by circumstance, and as I said with my friend Stanley, basically, he's just like a little kid as the revelation is being given, however you care to say it. And in that case, I wasn't. When I'm really in the flow, I'm not there anyway. That's a fact. With the writing, it's been that way for 30 years. But in that particular case, Rich really wasn't there for a moment.
Oh, well, it was beautiful. Yeah. We'll have to post all that because that was very special.
Well, I'll have to. Normally, I got a very good memory, and that's a blessing and a curse. But if I had to try to replicate that, it would be a lot like when you said the other day. I have to, it won't be the same, and but the spirit of it would be. And we've had 3 of those with you where I've sort of messed up the mechanical recording process, and you've picked it up, and when I hear it, it's the same. My heart reads it and hears it as the same message. The words are different, but the message comes through just loud and clear.
Yeah. Well.
What a blessing.
Yeah. And yes, I did want to thank you for that beautiful boat poem, that sailing. That was wonderful. That was it also. That's great. I think I'll try to post it on my little website or something, but that was really nice.
Well, that captured your image of, you sailing your little boat,
Exactly.
And it really captured the heart. The heart wants to help. It's there's to leave a beacon. It's to create a little spot of light that people who are seeking can come more directly than the old way, where you sort of had to. And most of the labor involved in climbing the mountain was just to exhaust your seekerness, so you finally give up the ghost of the seeker and find out that you always were what you were seeking in the first place.
Right, and I think that is very much what's happening, or at least if you and I can do what we're here to do, and I'm sure there's many others doing it too, that somehow, you're right, it's like the time for that sort of struggle. I think we got to kind of find a way to sort of give notice that the struggle, we don't have to struggle to do this. It's a given. It is our heritage. It is the very DNA of our being. You have to, maybe, I don't know quite how to say it. I guess I feel like it's going to be quicker now. People like you and I and many have, been on this search for 30 years, 40 years, and everybody who goes on this search, you always hear them say, oh yes, ever since I was little, I wanted to know who I was and what the world was all about and what life. We all ask that. How did we get here? What is this? How does this universe even exist? Where does it come from? So we began as very young asking the God questions. delving into the spiritual search, and I get this strong feeling that there were many who sort of became the sort of pathfinders, and now all of us are kind of getting to this point where now we live it. Now we just live it. We bring our gifts. We do what we do. And there's a lot of us. So I think that light that we're talking about is getting brighter, and that is probably why the world looks more crazy and chaotic. You know, it's like because the old scene, the old paradigm, which was a false belief, which was based in a lie and an untruth, it's losing its grip. And the more it loses its grip, the more fearful it gets and the more it wants to hold on. So I'm kind of looking at the world scene as maybe an indication of more light.
Yeah, I think it's as darker it gets out there, it portends the contradistinction of a lot more light than we're used to seeing. Two thoughts. When you were talking about where we're going collectively, there was a thing in a movie called The Highlander, where they were all the warriors were moving towards the gathering, the last day where everybody gets back together again. Well, the mountain men in the early days in the 1800s had these gatherings where they would come in the spring and all get together, and they called it a shining time. And that really strikes me what we're talking about. And
it's beautiful.
And at the end of the Highlander, they're constantly saying a very profound spiritual truth. In the end, there can be only one.
Oh boy! And that also takes me back to an insight that I've had. You know how communism and socialism and government control is always about this collective, big, united, one people, one. It's not like that. It is one as an individual. It isn't as a bunch of people. It is as individual, one-to-one with God. As you do it alone, all by yourself, in direct contact with your, with this knowing God's grace in your heart and being one with that and making the direct living it. This is where we're going, and this whole idea about being like one giant bunch of people, it's not you. That's like a human vision that gets corrupted with this whole idea of that whole thing of communism as a human concept of equality, or whatever they're calling it, which of course it isn't, but it's so corrupt and so dark that I'm just going, okay, what one means one. It does mean that you finally come one-to-one with God, and it's only between you and that which is. And when you get there, whatever happens out there to the collective is really not the issue. It's only between you and this. And when we get that straight, I don't know, everything else will just fall into place. You'll understand it, because then you're coming from this higher vision that knows what the world is about. You are very discerning and wise, and you know right from wrong, and you know where not to go, and you know what isn't it. And from there, the ability to do the right thing and live in the world rightly is a given. But it has nothing to do with collective union or union of people. That's not it. Do you see what I'm saying there, or does that not make any sense?
No, that's making a lot of sense. In fact, there's a quote, and normally the quotes I consciously intend to remember, I will. This is a partial quote. It's only half of the statement. And I'm sort of, where did I see that? There was an outfit called Union Life magazine that was, I went to a church with my wife back in '79, and I had a very mystical it was right after my epiphany, basically, and I was very mystically oriented, which is sort of a conscious union with God orientation. And I was talking like I was talking right now to a guy in church, and all of a sudden this magazine shows up on my doorstep. And it came for about 5 or 6 years, and then they figured they had done what they intended to do, and it's still online as Union Life. But I'm going to go over and get a front quote, but I think it came from them. But it was liberty without license, and then there was, no extra. The liberty was an integration of all the whole. You can do exactly what you want to do because you were born to do it, and as a result, it integrates with everything else. So you've got the freedom and license to do anything you want, and it will not interfere with anybody else's perfect freedom, because the whole, it was planned that way. You couldn't be any happier or more expression of your individual self. You couldn't express it any better because it's all self-integrated at the divine level. And so everybody has absolute freedom, but it's perfectly balanced and coordinated. It's self-organized, I guess you could say. But there's the rest of that statement, and that'll be my homework for this time, to go find the rest of that liberty without license, basically, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, exactly. You do understand what I'm saying. Exactly. As you do it, it doesn't matter what the other guy is doing, because it isn't like I have to join another person. It's like I only have to join God. And then it's right and correct. And if each person does that, then their little part is right and correct and filled with grace, and it all fits together, but not forced upon us by some human concept of what that looks like. This is entirely about freedom and liberty as an individual freedom and liberty. And that goes back to what we said at some other point along the line here, the Declaration of Independence. We are the individual, our God-given freedom, our God-given rights. That's who we are. It is the individual freedom is where we're going, not a collective. And I just see that collective thing as growing darkness. And I just go, whoa, that is heavy when people start thinking that communism is a solution. This is crazy. I mean, really, it's like insanity and sanity. You want to be sane, or do you want to be insane? It's like, you want to live in the dark, or do you want what sanity is? I mean, it's like, what a clarity, what a fresh air, what a breath of I guess you'd call it sanity, like being clear, you understand, you know what is and what isn't. And that's what we got to do. It's got to be individual liberty. What a beautiful, I love that word, liberty. Isn't it a great word?
It's fabulous. I have, while you were talking, and I was hanging on every word, I managed to grab one of these Union Life magazines from '89, and
okay.
On the title page, it's Union Life, and it's got this rose with dewdrops, and it says, "Don't forget to smell the roses." But the logo with Union Life is dedicated to an expanding awareness of God's mystery, which is Christ in you. And I opened it, and it's the lady that I used to talk a lot of these things with, and we came to loggerheads over, minutiae, basically. It turns out the one I happened to grab off the